Welcome back, everybody, to Jedi Eternal Podcast. Today, I am your co-host, Braxton Taylor, here with your other co-host, Andrew the TikTok Terror Bolin. TikTok Terror. This man is a TikTok fiend. By 7 o'clock in the morning this morning, he already sent me 6 videos. Oh, Andrew, how are you doing today, sir?
It's been an interesting week.
Yes, yeah. I think it's been a little crazy for everybody. But you know what? Here we are on Friday once again, getting this podcast out for everybody. We do want to say very quickly, like I said, this week has been pretty crazy for everybody, including us. So this week is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do our normal news, and we're going to do our Q&A. But we're not going to have a main topic. So today's episode may just be a little short today, but we want to make sure that we got the news out, got everything out, and like I said, just kept that consistency for everybody. I know our hope was that we don't ever talk about what's going on outside of Star Wars in this podcast,
right, yeah.
So that, as pretentious as this may sound, we wanted everybody to have at least, every Friday, hey, this may be going on, that may be going on, but hey, at least we can on Friday listen to this podcast or whatever. And you may not think that at all, but that was our hope. But just know that, unfortunately, things still happen to everybody. And so our podcast may be a little short today, but you know what? We're going to have a good time still. And we're going to get our news on. And we have plenty of questions. We're going to finish up our queue so that we're fresh, ready up for the next week. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we only have one news piece for this week, and that is the Hasbro has released another set of their Black Series, and this time it's actually all the main Rebels characters, so Star Wars Rebels. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. We've seen some pictures from Hasbro that included all of the main characters and stuff. So, Andrew, there's something pretty interesting about their stylizations. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so this is re-releases of the entire Ghost Crew, and I think that's also something to note. There is their re-releases with improved photo-real facial features, and so I just think that this is not. I just don't think it's a coincidence.
Right. Now, we are in news, so we got to be careful here.
Well, yeah. So let me. Let's say so. The toys are being released. That is the news.
Right.
I'm now kind of talking more of what if, or more into rumors at this point. Right after that, it's just I feel like that these making them basically live action versions is definitely on purpose. I don't think it's just a random thing. I think that we already have a good idea some of these characters are coming into live action. No official confirmations yet, but it's really seeming like that's the direction they're going.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we're getting these characters.
Well, and they also released, I think I shared this on the Facebook page a couple weeks ago, but they released another this was Hot Toys, but they, still commissioned by Disney and LucasArts and stuff like that. But we got a Captain Rex, and it was very much in the live action, actual person model of Tamira Morrison rather than the animated version of the Rex as we know him in Clone Wars. So, this is news, but we're kind of speculating a little bit right now by saying, is it really a coincidence that we're going to now be seeing all of these toys, these figurines and stuff that are now being made of live action, status, or however you want to say it. I don't know. It could be very indicative of the future. Let's just say that. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead now into rumors, because that's actually was our only news piece for the week. So let's go ahead and get into rumors here. So we have kind of a dual rumor here, but let's go off with the first one. And we've seen this on several different sites, but I got this specifically off of StarWarsNews.net. But it says Pedro Pascal will be spending more time in the Mandalorian armor compared to Season 1 and Season 2. So that's pretty interesting. That can mean a couple different things. Off the bat, you could say it has connotations of, the most basic thing would be like, he had other engagements. I think he was doing King Lear during season 1, so he had to go back and forth and stuff. So maybe it's just the fact that he's not in any other productions during the time of season 2, so therefore he was able to be in costume more. But the more kind of speculative thing that I was thinking is, if he's not, or if he's in the suit more than his stunt double, does that mean that this season 2 is going to be more story driven rather than action based? So it's a kind of an interesting thought process there.
Yeah, well, and whenever the Mandalorian started coming out, we started getting episodes, there was a lot of people pointing out that you could tell it wasn't Pedro Pascal actually walking around doing everything, and people were even like pointing out the differences in the way he was walking in different scenes and stuff, and basically they're like, this is multiple people are playing this guy, and it's usually not. He was almost more of just a voice actor in this first season.
Well, and actually, if you remember, we saw in the behind-the-scenes thing that he did a lot of voice acting for that.
Right, so he was just behind a mic. Yeah. And so it's very kind of strange, really, when you think about it, because that's not really kind of what you envision, of course, when you're watching it. So going back and watching it again, I think would be interesting, thinking about it in those terms.
Oh wait, that's not actually him. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it will be good though for him to be actually in the armor this next season as much as possible, because even just mannerisms and the way that you move can really make a difference.
Oh, you portray the character in a whole different way. Yeah.
Right. And I think it needs to have his mark on it. And so I'm excited for that.
Yeah. There's another speculation that came with that, and a lot of people were saying, like, and this is like spoilers for the last episode of season 1. I'm sure everyone's seen it. Just in case you haven't, just want to throw that out there. But in the episode 8 of The Mandalorian season 1, we do see him take off his helmet.
Yeah.
So some other speculations is maybe the reason he has to be in the suit more is because there's going to be more scenes in which he has his helmet off in season 2.
Yeah.
So that's very possible. Since he's already kind of broken his oath, why not at this point, kind of thing. But I guarantee he's not going to see it that way. But I'm just saying, some people were saying that. So
right.
So anyway, so that kind of has some interesting little theories there. So we do know that he is going to be in it more, but what does it mean? Yeah. We don't really know.
So then adding to that, we also have here that the Mandalorian will reportedly become a Jedi in season 3.
Yeah, this one's a little more far-fetched for me. But
so I think it was maybe last week we talked about
force sensitive.
About force, being force sensitive.
Yeah.
And we kind of had different views on it. You don't think he's force sensitive at all.
I don't know that I don't think he is. I didn't know that I wanted to be so.
Okay.
But I think if you remember, though, at the end of our conversation, I kind of aligned with you a little bit because you brought up a good point. Because as soon as I saw force sensitive, I immediately thought him like, pushing and pulling and, using force abilities and stuff. But you brought up the point like, well, that doesn't necessarily have to mean that. Force sensitivity, if I can speak today, just means that like, oh, he's attuned to the force. Like, and I thought, okay, well, maybe like he's about to get attacked from behind and he kind of senses it a little bit and like turns around. If it's like that, I wouldn't be.
So what this is saying is that Ahsoka is set to play a more prominent role in the 3rd season and will teach Mando the ways of the Force.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. See, that I wouldn't want that. I don't think I would want that.
So I think it's pretty far-fetched.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't think that the Mandalorian needs to become a Jedi.
No.
I'm actually on the side of believing he might be force sensitive, and I think it could even bring a little extra interest into his character and his bond with Baby Yoda.
Right.
And maybe there's even some kind of force bond there, that kind of thing.
Right.
Would be kind of neat. But yeah, for him to actually officially become a Jedi, like follow the Jedi teachings and stuff.
I don't think so.
I don't really know that's the way it should go. Well, but I love Jedi, and if it happens, I could probably end up on board with it, but they got to really convince me.
They got to really sell it for me. Yeah, and I'm on the same page with that. They'd have to really prove to me that it's a good idea before I get on board. Because I do love Jedi. I mean, like I said, we're called Jedi Eternal. We obviously love Jedi. But, this is a well-known bounty hunter. I think what is cool about Star Wars is that, there's those distinctions between the Jedi and the Sith and the bounty hunters and the Imperials and, I can go on and on. You know what I'm saying? And I talked about this last week, but I think having him become like a Jedi or whatever, like, would take away the only thing that Baby Yoda really has going for it as a character. Like, the thing that, like, Baby Yoda has going for it, he's small, he's a baby, he can't talk, but, hey, he can use the Force.
Yeah.
So, I think if they made him, like, totally, not just Force sensitive, but, like, totally, like, using the Force and becoming Jedi, I think that would kind of take away from Baby Yoda. But who knows? We'll see. So I think it's a little far-fetched, but something to look forward to in season 3 to see if we get more expansion on that right there. So our third rumor for the week is that supposedly there is a live-action Thrawn series being produced currently. And there's been a lot of rumors going on about that, because Thrawn is a fan favorite who has never gotten any screen time. And we see him in a few things here and there, but, having especially a live action setting, it's pretty crazy. So, Drew, do you think there's any legitimacy to that rumor, and would you like to see that?
So, I think I think that we could be seeing Thrawn in live action. I do not believe he's getting his own series, at least not right now. Mm-hmm. We've talked about potentially Ahsoka, potentially Sabine, all these Rebels characters. We talked about a live action sequel to Rebels,
right.
All this,
so many different things.
So many different things. Do I think Thrawn could show up in whatever all this talk is? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It would make sense.
Yeah, the timelines cross over during that period.
It would make sense with the Rebels story that Thrawn could end up appearing alongside Ezra, and so I think that would make a lot of sense. But I don't believe we're getting a Thrawn series.
Right. Yeah.
At least not right now.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you on that. I mean, at this point, Thrawn is a fan favorite of those who know who Thrawn is. Right? I mean, right. Thrawn is a very good character, but those who don't read the books and, are not going to, and in comics and things of that nature, are not going to have that deeper understanding of who that character is. So I don't see Disney jumping in feet first with that character to have a whole story yet. You know what I'm saying? Of him. Yeah. So yeah, I think you're definitely on the right track there. I think you got the right idea. I think that it's very probable that we're going to see a live action Thrawn, but maybe not just the show.
Yeah, and then so on top of that, we also are hearing that casting for Star Wars Ezra Bridger continues with new details on the search, and basically they're looking for a live action Ezra, and they're saying that he will soon debut on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that. I think if anything, that would probably be more probable than a lot of the other rumors that we have. I mean, even seeing a live action Ezra Bridger would be kind of surprising to me. I don't know if surprising is the right word, but I do think that although I think it's slim, I do think that it's more probable of seeing him getting his own show rather than a lot of other people. I do think a lot of these live action characters that we're hearing about are going to just kind of be together on one or two different shows as appearances, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, so I'm not there's so many different rumors out there that we've talked about all of them.
Right.
And I wish that we could just find out what's really going on, because it's getting so like convoluted with all of these different.
And every week we're just pouring stuff out.
And like, so for example, let's just like talk about this for a minute. We have rumors of the live action Rebels sequel, a Rebels animated sequel.
Yeah.
An Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
And
Thrawn show.
And then Ahsoka coming to Mandalorian season 2. So all of that stuff, if you look at it timeline-wise, there's no way all of that's going to happen,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So I personally feel like it makes more sense that we'd be getting an animated sequel to Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's say that there is an animated sequel and some kind of live action continuation as well. I think the live action continuation has to be the Ahsoka series, right?
Yeah.
And then we get an animated Rebel sequel. But even then, is still, and then but Ahsoka's also going to show up in Mandalorian season 2, which supposedly is going to bring, that's going to be the introduction, and then it's going to shoot off into her own series. It's just a lot to take in.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
And I'm not sure how they're going to make all of it line up correctly.
Right.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I think probably, again, the couple of the animated rumors, I think that those could be their own independent thing. But I think a lot of the live action stuff that we're hearing is just going to be crossovers into one or two mediums. I guarantee that, if they even come true, right? If it's even real.
Right. I don't think every person's getting their own show. That's where.
No, I don't think so either.
So only time will tell, I guess.
Right.
Rumors were that Celebration would bring us some answers.
Yeah.
And I think that, of course, that would be make the most sense. But unfortunately, we still don't know what's going to happen with Celebration.
Yeah. Sometimes there's these beaming lights or shines of light here and there, and the other times it's just, I don't think so. I think it's snuffed out.
Yeah. So whatever happens there, which I'm still very skeptical it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the only reason they haven't told us yet is because they're trying to figure out all the details because they don't want to just say it's canceled and not tell us anything else. They want to cancel it, but be like, hey, but here's when it's going to happen.
And I think that's why they haven't said anything yet.
Exactly.
They're trying to
get all that together.
Right.
It's still a little frustrating because just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
But if they don't have Celebration, then how do you think we will get these like the shows? How do you think we will get their reveals?
So, as obviously Drew, but those of you who are listening, Andrew and I are very big convention fans in whatever way that manifests. So we go to a lot of Comic Cons, Star Wars Celebration, different things like that. And I'm on the email list for a lot of conventions for news and things of that nature. And almost every big con has been announcing that they're basically doing a digital Comic-Con. And I didn't really understand exactly what that meant, but basically what they're doing is at certain times they're having a live event where there's a stage and there's XYZ person on stage, and they are talking just like a regular panel, except they're recording it and you're watching it from home. So I definitely would not be surprised if Celebrations did that if they canceled, but have especially if we have big reveals that are kind of like last year when we went, when they revealed Mandalorian and had all those special scenes and stuff.
Right.
I think there's going to be some open panels that everyone can watch, but then also you can probably sign up to be selected for these special panels as well, or maybe even pay some money.
Well, so we know with normal Celebration, that's already kind of how it works.
Exactly.
A lot of people can watch a lot of the events online, especially the really big panels. But then for example, the Mandalorian one that we got to watch, people at home couldn't watch it. You had to be in the room.
They had people walking up down the aisles saying you can't have your phone out and everything. Yeah. It's crazy.
They said they had what was it? Some kind of weird scanners inside the room we were in that would notify them if we were using our phones.
That's kind of bizarre. But
you remember that?
Yeah, I was kind of mad at that.
We're looking around everywhere. Where are they at?
Tell me where to use my phone.
So anyways,
I'm I guess I could just leave then, right? I'm not leaving, so I'll just put my phone up.
I'm pretty sure I told you, well, I guess you could leave if you wanted.
Shut up.
And then you shut your mouth pretty quick after that.
Shut up. I do whatever I want. And I want to put my phone out my pocket, so don't tell me what
to do. Jeez. Somebody's grumpy. So anyways.
I don't know where he's going with that, but
I've lost all of it.
Oh, no, what he's talking about how, basically we think that we're probably going to have a digital forum or a digital medium. On big ones, you'll probably have a sign-up thing or a drawing type thing like they did with regular Celebrations.
Or maybe they'll just do an entirely free show this time. They may not be able to show some of the things that they originally would have.
Right.
But maybe we could still get some of the big reveals, like a new show.
And I could see them doing that because of like everything that's going on, and they just like want to quote unquote give back or whatever, you know. I could definitely see them opening it up like, okay, everybody can just watch this. You know?
And at this rate, it's probably going to be a Disney Plus series that was going to be the big reveal of the show, because they're not going to reveal any movie right now. So
so I mean, those mediums for sure are the places we're probably going to get them. So
all right, well, let's move on to our releases. And our releases is next Friday. We will be getting Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian episode 7, and then actually the Jedi Temple Challenge that was going to be on YouTube got postponed a week, and so we'll actually be getting that this coming Wednesday, the 10th. And now it will be episode 1 and 2 will be released on that date. So if you're interested in that and you want to see Ahmed Best as a Jedi, that is where you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, so guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to actually what's going to be our final thing for this episode, and that is our Q&A forum. As you guys know, every week we go ahead and post a forum post on Facebook asking you all to bring up questions, topics, and more. And we typically try to do 3 a week, but we've had about 5 or 6 sitting in the queue for a long time now. That's just been trading out. So what we're going to do, I didn't post one yesterday. What we're going to do is go ahead and finish these 5 or 6 off, and then we're going to then start fresh next week. So whoever gets there next week first is going to be the first one to be answered next week. But we're going to go ahead and do that today, and this is what we're going to end off on today. And so let's go ahead to our first question, and that comes from Kristen Perry, who says, if you guys were Jedis, what color of lightsaber would you like to have, and what color would you think you would get? So, Kristen, you're playing both sides there, because me and Andrew disagree on this. You think Andrew could choose, and I think that we get assigned. So, thank you for playing to both sides there. So, Drew, what color would you like to have?
Blue.
Okay, yeah. So, So, I mean, okay, thanks for that in-depth answer there. Throw me off my game here.
Sound like a smoker over here. Oh, sorry.
No, so funny enough, though, I was going to choose blue for myself, not because I want it, don't get me wrong, not because I thought I would be assigned that, because like blue, it says is indicated as a Jedi Guardian, right? And it's a Jedi who used the Force on a more physical level. And, I definitely, in my own eyes, I guess I don't know about everybody else sees me, but I definitely see myself as more of the Jedi Guardian. Now, I could definitely see myself moving into like the Jedi Consular area, which is green as well, but I don't know. I definitely could see myself either getting blue or green there. In terms of what I want, I've always liked the orange, just because it's so unusual. I do like the orange, but I don't think that happens. I don't think you just get to choose or anything. So.
I think the Force would probably give you pink. So.
Shut up! I'm not pink. That's your girls. So anyway, I don't know. He chooses blue. I think I would be given blue. Or green.
Aren't you special?
And you get to choose it. I think I'd be actually chosen by the Force, but anyway.
Well, let's just ask the Force and see what they say.
Force. I will meditate upon this. All right. So anyway, there's the answer for that one.
So basically, you choose blue too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think the Force would choose it for me.
But yeah.
I think
we're in an argumentative state today.
Yeah, we've been debating stuff all morning today. So, all right. So, thanks for the question, Kristen. So Freybo Sarvinsky asked actually quite a few things. So for today, I think we're just going to choose one. So I apologize for not answering all of them. We'll probably try to get to them later. But there was a few of them that we've actually talked about before. For instance, like list off characters from the expanded universe that we'd like to see return. We kind of already talked about that today. A lot of basically Revan was the common denominator. We talked about favorite planet in the Star Wars universe, which we're actually going to talk about a little bit later on another question too. So we'll save that.
Save it.
And so the main one we'd like to talk about for a second is just your third part, which was speculate what the next trilogy will be. So That's actually a very good question, and one that we could probably talk about for a little bit. Drew, go ahead. What do you think? Well, first, what I was going to say.
Well, what I was gonna say real quick is I just want to apologize if anyone can hear the background noise. My road
is literally being torn up.
It's getting paved right now, right outside the window that we are currently doing this podcast at. So I apologize if the mic's picking it up. We definitely hear it. I don't know if you guys can, but I just wanted to make that known. So like if you do hear something, that's what's going on.
Yeah,
so.
we can't really control the concrete that's being ripped up from the ground.
Apparently we picked like the most horrible time to start ever. So they're literally right outside our window.
I mean, I'm literally looking at these guys.
Yeah. So anyways.
So Drew, I forgot. Oh yeah. So what is your speculations? What do you think the next trilogy that we're going to see? What time frame you think that's going to be in? What the story is going to be like?
That is so hard.
I agree.
Okay, I'm gonna list out a couple things that I think we could see. I think we could see far into the future.
Yeah.
So it's still has the legacy of what we know, but it's so far into the future that nothing really even connects at this point, right? So they can just do like completely brand new stuff, because we already know from little things they've said here and there is they really want to start new, right? They want to have their own, which is kind of what like with the High Republic.
Well,
and so that's where I was going to lead in next.
That's what I was going to say as
we could eventually maybe get a High Republic series. And I'm not going to necessarily say trilogy, because I don't even know if that's their plan, is to do trilogies. Right. We don't really know what they're. We
know there's a standalone movie in 2022.
Well, we just know there's movies. They've not necessarily pointed out exactly what, if it's a standalone, if it's a trilogy, if it's a series. We don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of. So I could see maybe something set High Republic era. The Old Republic, we could still possibly get something there. Or we could maybe still go even farther back to the origins of like the Jedi, which has been, which was rumored to be what Benioff and Weiss was working on. They were working on a origin story for the Jedi, and so when they dropped off, I guess it's very possible that moved on to someone else, right?
Sure.
So those would be my guesses. I don't think the next big movies are going to be set in any current era that we know, personally. Sure.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you there. I don't think that at this point, the very next trilogy will be set far in the future, because that is... We've talked about this actually in our very first episode, The Future of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And we talked about what is Star Wars, what's that going to mean, blah, 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 right? So I don't think that they're going to do that yet, because that's a big leap, big jump, and they don't want to take any risks right now in terms of what people are going to like or not like. And jumping into the far future is a risky move.
Well, but I mean, personally, I think it's even riskier move if they do near future. So, like, if they did one with like Rey and then we're still around.
That's why I don't think they're going to do future. That's what I'm getting at. I don't think the next one is going to be future. I don't think they're going to be doing future for quite some time, near or far. Now, near, far, sorry.
Sing it.
No, I won't. Anyway, so that's why my theory is the next trilogy, like I said, because we're not guaranteed that the first movie that we're going to see in 2022 is even a trilogy, and I don't think it will be. So my thought is that I've believed this for a while, is that it's going to be, the next trilogy is going to be the High Republic, depending upon the success of the release of the books and comics, right? I think they're not saying this, but I guarantee you that that's a big hinging factor upon what they're going to be doing next.
Yeah. So you have to also consider like the time that we have here for this stuff coming out, because the High Republic is now not releasing until the beginning of 2021, which means they have less than a year at that point before their official scheduled movie releases.
Well, so listen, that's what I'm trying to say, is that in 2022, I'm not saying that we're going to get a trilogy.
You think it's one standalone movie before we get something that's going to be a bigger series?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I obviously don't really have anything to substantiate that claim, but I definitely think that because I think they're wanting to test the waters first before they jump into an entire trilogy.
Okay. The only problem I have with that is basing off of the failure of Solo. I feel like they may not want to do another standalone movie.
Yeah,
because of how that turned out. Now, of course, Rogue One did great, and so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but a trilogy is 3 movies, and if all 3 of them stink, it's a lot bigger loss than having one of them stink. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, let me just talk about that for just a second, because I don't know. That's just one thing I really think about a lot, is that I don't know how to even say it. The problem is with the trilogy is like you're committing to a big thing. You know what I'm saying? You're committing to a big thing by saying, okay, even if the first one bombs, we're still going to make 2 more after that. Okay, hopefully we redeem ourselves in the next 2, but you see what I'm saying? If they do just one standalone, maybe even a new era or a familiar era, at least that's something that we can get. So I guess my stance is, and whether it's real or not, my thought process is that the next trilogy is going to probably be dependent upon what we're seeing in the High Republic and if people like it or not. And if it's the hit that they're hoping it will be, which I think it will be, then that's probably the next trilogy.
Yeah, and I guess it just depends on where their head's at with this and what they're thinking, because
right.
Again, they might be too scared to try doing another standalone film, or at the same time, are they like, when they reveal a new movie, are they wanting it to be like, this is the beginning of a new saga, and
True.
just be like this is going to be a big long series and this is the start of it, and try to get people really excited to
Which would make sense. Which would make sense,
yeah. But when is that set? What story do they tell?
I would like to think that they're going to play it safe and make it a trilogy for the Old Republic, but I don't have my fingers crossed on that one. I would love it, but I don't think that that's going to happen.
I mean, their original plan, in my opinion, was actually really good. The problem was not the plan. I think the problem was the execution of the plan.
Yeah.
Because the idea of having, okay, we're doing a series of movies, or well, I guess at the time, a trilogy of movies, and then in between every year is going to be a standalone movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's really brilliant. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all.
I think that actually, in my eyes, was great, was awesome. I loved it. The problem was the execution, and so I would love for them to go back to it and be like, okay, we're going to do this right this time. So maybe they do a standalone movie,
mm-hmm.
and then they move on, and that gives them enough time to think about what their next big trilogy is. That would be great.
Yeah.
So
I would like that, and like I said, and maybe they're going to gauge the success of High Republic before they jump into any movies or trilogies with that, obviously. So maybe the next, or the first trilogy will be the origins of the Jedi, so they didn't want to lead up to the High Republic. I would not mind seeing that. I think that seeing the origins of the Jedi would actually be really cool, because we know about it in Legends, but Legends is so sparse and stuff with it that they could definitely go in and do their own story with it, and people really wouldn't care too much. I mean, hardcore fans like us, we're like, oh, okay, I already kind of know what the origins of the Jedi are. I already know in my mind what is going on. But you know what? They could probably have a little leeway with that, and I wouldn't be too mad about it. You know what I'm saying? Because we know where it ends up. So that's all that really matters for me. So.
Right.
All right. So I hope that answered your question. I apologize we couldn't get to all of them today, but we do have several more. So a couple of them we already answered. One, actually, here in a second, we're going to answer that coincides with yours. So anyway, hope that answered that question, though. I hope you enjoyed that one. Going on to our next one. So this is actually a big question. It's actually a kind of a crazy one, but it comes from Alex Mason, who says, in The Rise of Skywalker, we get Palpatine rising to power to be defeated by Rey. It says, in the movie, he tells Kylo Ren that he, Palpatine, was every voice inside of his head, such as Snoke and Vader and etc. So is it possible that the Force ghosts Rey heard were actually just Palpatine manipulating her to make her think that she had the blessing of the Jedi? By killing him, she did what he wanted, and maybe that's because he wanted to live on through her. So in killing Palpatine, she actually allowed for Palpatine and all the Sith to live inside of her until the day that him and the Sith reemerged through her. So what are your thoughts? I think it's super intriguing. It also would, later down the road, like you guys have talked about before, bring Palpatine back and using that as an explanation. So, big question. A lot there to unpack. But the core of the question is this. Do you think that Rey actually heard the Jedi, that Jedi were actually with her, or do you think that was Palpatine's manipulations to get her to kill him?
So, simple answer, I don't believe it was Palpatine.
Okay.
Because it defeats the purpose of, well, the entire saga, basically.
You're right, yeah.
You know? So, no, I don't think that is what happened. I don't think Disney would ever want to do that. Well, one of the main reasons being that the entire fan base would riot if they're like, actually,
sorry,
Palpatine actually won the saga, and you know,
yeah.
But looking at it, just kind of for speculation and fun, I actually really like the idea.
I could definitely see like where that's coming. That question's coming from for sure. I mean,
I think it's a neat thing to look at, and
yeah.
and makes sense in a way because of the just the way that Palpatine had been doing things, and
yeah.
the way, you know, he wanted her to strike him down, and she does, you know.
But here's the one thing here's my answer to that, is that when the whole purpose of striking down your master, it's out of hatred and anger and lust for power, right? Yeah. The transition of apprentice to master in the Sith is so that they can gain power. When Rey destroyed Palpatine, she didn't strike him down. She reflected his own attack with the power of the Jedi back onto him. A.
Right.
And B, it was not to gain power. It was to defeat evil and bring balance to the Force.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think that was real, because, and think this, and this might be just extrapolation here to some extent or whatever, but every time that Palpatine manipulated the voices in Kylo's head, it was always Snoke. It was always Vader. It was always evil presences. Can he manipulate voices of good? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think maybe he's, you know, you could say, yeah, he's just manufacturing a voice. It's not their actual voice, but I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I don't really know the full answer to that part, but I'll just say I don't think that is the case. I don't think he was manipulating her, because in the sense of that, it wouldn't fulfill his own purposes, because she didn't inherently just kill him, especially not in the way to transverse power into the Sith.
Yeah, that's good.
Or whatever.
That's good. I like that. Yeah. I don't. For the big picture, it doesn't make any sense that Palpatine won right. in the end.
Exactly.
No, and I think if Palpatine were to ever come back, I actually don't think that is how they will answer it, because again, the fan base would go crazy.
As much as I love Palpatine, I would not want to see him come back again.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one day it would be interesting if they do it right, but it'd have to be like when we're like 60 years old,
right?
And then when we'd be really excited, be like, yeah, like Braxton, grab the deep ends. We're going to the theater. Yeah, buddy. You know we can't hold it that long. So
you kidding me? I've been on tap this whole time. Got my colostomy bag all stocked up and cleaned. So yeah, it would have to be, if that were to happen, it would definitely have to be much later in life. And after a lot has happened.
But even then, I don't think they could use that excuse of Rey actually helped him in his plan, because again, it would defeat the whole trilogy,
right.
and
plus the whole
even
Sith,
the whole saga. So.
Plus the whole Sith. I mean, all the symbology of the movie leads to the fact that we know that she defeated the Sith, because the entire Sith on Exegol, the temple, gets destroyed. All the Sith Eternal gets destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like the symbology leads to the fact that we know that didn't happen.
Right.
So,
but it is an interesting. Yeah. It is definitely an interesting thought. And if Star Wars wasn't about hope and it was just a darker sci-fi series,
I could see that happening.
I could see that end up being the case. But since Star Wars is a very positive series about hope and that the good overcomes the bad, that could never be the actual story.
Right. So anyway, Alex hope that answers your question to the best of our humble abilities. So the next one comes from Joshin Birkinshaw, who says, "Did you ever play Star Wars Shadows of the Empire? I was recently cleaning out the attic and came across my old Nintendo 64, and boom, the game was still in. Dash Rendar, I believe, is the character you play. I love the game, new planets and new ships at the time, but never hear much about it. What are your guys' thoughts?" So, I'll be honest with you, Joshin. This is one of the few Star Wars games I really didn't play all that much. I know that I played it a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think that I played it all that much to really give a full opinion about it or anything. And Drew, did you ever play it?
So I'm on the same boat. I know that I have played a little bit of it, but I definitely never owned the game, and so I never spent a whole lot of time with it. I'm sure I just rented it from a Blockbuster at the time, and so I as well don't have a whole lot to say about it. But I do know that many people do love that game.
I've heard a lot of really good things about it,
and love the character of Dash Rendar.
I will say this. There's one vague thing that I do remember about it, and there's that I don't even remember the full context, but you're like walking through, maybe it was like Hoth or a base or something, and you come upon like this Wampa, and it scares the life out of you. It comes out of nowhere, and you're like running from it.
So that sounds familiar when you say that, but
yeah. That's all I remember, really. To be honest with you, that's really all I remember about the game, because I don't know when did that. Let me look up when that came out, because it's.
Yeah, I'm curious as well.
It came out in 1996.
Oh, okay.
So it was
when I was 3.
So we lad.
You were not even a year old.
1. It was December 3rd. So yeah, I was 1.
Oh, my bad. You were born in 95, not 96. My apologies.
Little doo-doo. Yeah. So.
Wow, name calling.
You little stinker. Anyway, so Josh and I apologize. I wish I could give a better answer than that. But I didn't play it enough to really give an opinion, because obviously I played it much later. Obviously, I had an N64. Yeah. But I played it much later on. So I do remember it was fun. I know it's a lot of good stuff. I do remember running from the Wampa. But
yeah, I unfortunately can't say much about it, but Josh and I do hope you had a good birthday.
Yes, we do want to say that. I hope you had a good birthday.
It was on Monday, right?
It was on the Monday.
So hopefully it was good.
Yeah.
And anyway, hopefully you partied, had a good time.
Yeah, had a good old forced filled day. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something I could.
Yeah, that would. You need to come up with something better than that.
Scratch that from the tape. You didn't hear that.
Sorry, Josh, and if that ruined your birthday.
You ruined my birthday. All right. So anyway, Josh, and so I apologize, going to have a better answer than that, but maybe someday we can go back and get that. So the next thing we have here is from Noah Aguilar, and he says, which planet would you want to live on? And it can be in canon or legends. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. And so Freyo, this is hearkening to what was number 6. You said favorite planet in Star Wars universe. So we've talked about before, like, what our favorite planets were. And I know Andrew and I talked a lot about the various planets. I said, just for whatever reason, I really liked Utapau. I guess just because of the way it was laid out, and I love the species and thought it was pretty interesting. And I think one thing that Drew and I said that we'd like to visit was Dantooine was a big one for us. We loved Dantooine, especially because, like I said, in KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, that was one of the first times. I don't know how to say it exactly. It's one of those times that we get to see your character really open up. The story really, he really starts becoming a Jedi. And also, Dantooine is actually a really pretty place. It has these lush fields and wide open plains and stuff like that. And I just think from the memories of KOTOR, I think Dantooine for both of us was a really big place that we really enjoyed being on in KOTOR. But with that being said, though, your question says, where would you like to live? And honestly, I know this is a cop-out answer, and I'm pretty sure this is the same for me and Andrew. But I say, as generic as this would have to be, I would say that the planet I would like to live on would have to be Naboo. I know that's like a a cheap answer, but Naboo is a very, very, very beautiful planet. And I think I think the last time I talked about this, I said, it just reminds me of Italy and all this. Well, the reason why is because in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, we see it. It actually was filmed in Italy, so that's why, surprisingly, it reminds me of Italy. But yeah, so I would definitely say that Naboo is one of the big ones. We don't see a whole lot of Alderaan, but just from what we hear about it, I would definitely say Alderaan is a big one for me. Obviously, it kind of depends on when you're living there, because at one point it gets blown up. So I don't know that I want to live there, especially depending on the time and frame in which you're there. Because I was thinking like, oh man, living on or going to Tatooine would be really cool, but man, it's so hot and it's like a desert planet. I don't know that I want to live there. Coruscant is so cool because you got so much culture, and that's where the Jedi reside and stuff. But man, it's just like, it's so cram packed. There's so much criminal elements to everything, so it is difficult. It is very difficult to pick. Because there's so many planets there. So I don't know. I would have to say that Naboo would definitely be mine. And also, Andrew and I had been reviewing Queen's Peril. That's why I was confusing with the other one. But Queen's Peril, it really also shows us more, by E.K. Johnston. It really shows us more about the planet and the ecosystem and the government and things of that nature. And one thing that it's kind of hearkened in the prequels that Padme always talks about, but Naboo is a very peaceful planet. Naboo is very peaceful. The people are peaceful. The government, albeit kind of monarchical, I guess, with the queen and whatnot, is still a democracy. So, it would be a peaceful place to live in. It's really beautiful. And like I said, in the book Queen's Peril, you get to read more about the government and read about the people, and you get to read about the culture. So it's a really nice place. It's a really nice, planet. So I definitely think that I would be live there. So actually, if you don't hear Andrew, I've been talking away. He actually had to step away for a phone call, so we apologize about that. So I'm hoping he comes back here in just a minute. So that's why I'm kind of rambling here. So let me see here. While we're waiting on him, I will jump back to Vinsky's questions here. And another one that you talked about was number 5, which is favorite bounty hunters. So I definitely think that there's a lot of really good bounty hunters. A lot of I do have an affinity to a lot of the original trilogy, especially when we see them on the deck of the Star Destroyer, and we see Vader talking to them all and stuff like that. You have your classic Boba Fett. And you can't go wrong with Boba Fett. Boba Fett's a classic. And the thing is we don't see a whole lot about him until we get into the expanded universe. And of course, the expanded universe is iffy at best. You know what I'm saying? You don't know if you can trust it. And now that it's not canon anymore, it is difficult to say, what you want to do, or what, I don't know. So anyway, Boba Fett's a classic, obviously. One of my ones that I loved and I've always enjoyed, which is, for some people, like, why? But IG-88. IG-88 is a classic. I love IG-88. And it just makes sense because as a bounty hunter, an assassin droid or whatever, it just makes sense. It just makes sense because, I mean, he has no feelings. As we saw in Mandalorian, with the other IG unit that we see there, not IG-88, but he's a stone cold killer, man. He's got to sit here and take out a child. So. I don't know, IG-88, it makes sense. And I just love his mannerisms. I love, as a robot, talking about mannerisms. But I really enjoyed watching him. Another big one is Dengar. I love Dengar. And he gets some hate, I guess, because he's just, I don't know. He's not very well known. But if I'm not mistaken, he's from Corellia. He has a lot of really cool story background. Now, there is rumors that he is actually in the sequel trilogy, in Return, or not Return of the Jedi. I'm getting mixed up here, but I heard that he was in. Man, I'm blanking here. Rise of Skywalker, or he was in that cantina or whatever. And they say that like he survived and all this stuff like that. So Drew is back here with us now. Basically, I was talking about earlier what planet we would like to live on, but since you was on the phone, I had to move. I talked way too much about that. I had to move on to one of Frey's other questions, which was talking about the favorite bounty hunter. So
cool.
So let's move back here now that you're here, and we'll just try to fish that up. What planet would you like to live on?
Naboo.
Yeah. So I said I think I'm speaking for both of us here, and I said Naboo.
Absolutely. I mean, that's without a doubt one of the most gorgeous.
It's a beautiful planet.
The only other one would be maybe like Alderaan, but it depends on when you.
Dude, I literally said that exact same thing.
Depends on when you go there, because
if
you're living during the time it would blow up, it might not be so hot.
Okay, so just to keep continuity here, what is some of your favorite bounty hunters? Because we're just going to go ahead and answer that question. I've talked about, I kind of just spewed a bunch out, but I said obviously Boba Fett's a classic. IG-88 is one of my favorites, and I really like Dengar as well. But is there any other ones in particular that stand out to you that you really, really like?
I know this is just a lame answer, but my favorite's Boba Fett. I mean,
yeah, it is kind of a lame answer, but no, I'm just kidding.
Well, and now, I guess the Mandalorian counts too, right? I mean, he takes bounties.
Yeah,
and stuff, so
he is. Yeah, he's a bounty
He
hunter
might
for
actually
sure.
be my favorite now.
Yeah, I think it's because we get to see him as an actual character.
Right. You haven't got to see Boba Fett be like a legit character, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. All right, so let us move on to our final question for the week, and that is coming also from Kristen, who says, "What kind of Star Wars food would you like to try?" That's actually a really good question. That's just kind of a fun one that I never really even thought about. For me, I always wanted to try the blue milk. I mean, it's pretty generic answer, and it's mostly because I can't think of too many other foods off the top of my head. but I definitely would like to try the blue milk because I'm thinking what does it taste like? You know what I'm saying? What does it look like? And I know a lot of I don't know what's it called. A lot of these foods or whatever are at dude, I'm literally blanking so bad today. Black Spire Outpost.
What are you talking about?
At Disney. What's it called?
At Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. I know there's
or Batu.
Yes. Black Spire Outpost. Whatever. I don't know.
Batu is the actual planet. Yeah.
So anyway, I know there's a lot of Star Wars foods there, and I would definitely like to try some of those when I go at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll be spending probably hundreds of dollars on food.
I want to think about how much money I'm going to spend when I go there.
Yeah, because seriously, when I go, I'll be going all out. I'll be getting all the food that I want. I'll be getting a lightsaber or two.
When I go, I got to try a drink. I got to try food. I got to try, or I have to get a lightsaber. I got to build my own lightsaber.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And then I also have to get some other kind of collectible. So we're looking at,
Well, they have a lot of really cool statues or statuettes or whatever, of the characters, and there's so many good ones. I know I'm trying to think, like, there's some I was watching the other day about some of the other ones that they're talking about eating there, but the smoked Kadu ribs or whatever, people were talking about that, said that was really good because they serve, it's like pork ribs, but it's served with blueberry corn muffin, which is apparently very good. I don't know. And they have apparently really interesting popcorn that is blue and red, and it's sweet and spicy. And it's called something. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's supposed to be like, I think, blueberry muffin mixed with chili lime or something. I don't know. So in terms of the actual Star Wars universe, I really don't know. Other than blue milk, I can't think of too many things off the top of my head of the actual food. But there are plenty of things at Galaxy's Edge that are Star Wars food that they've brought into the park that I definitely would like to try. Yeah. So anyway.
I mean, I think if I was going to say like one individual thing, I just like a fried quacking monkey lizard. Just,
yes. We see that in Mandalorian, dude. That was so good. I'd try it.
With a cup of blue milk, that'd be nice.
I think that would be a great meal. Dude.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions?
That was our final question.
Our final question.
And now our queue is cleared. So I want to remind everybody that next week is fair game. Whoever gets in there first will be the first one answered next week. So
so go ahead, send us as many questions as you guys would like next week.
Yeah.
We'll be ready for a bunch of those. Again, as we said, a little bit of a slow news week. But we actually still almost hit an hour long, so
I know
somehow
really
we managed to do that.
Well, we intentionally were talking a lot about a lot of different things, and also we had several questions. So,
and I apologize that I left for a minute. That my dogs are at the vet, and they gave me a call, so I was checking on that.
Yeah, well, what you really should be sorry about is them having to hear me drone on about Naboo for like 10 minutes.
I'm not editing it out either, so
you guys get to hear it in full glory. Know more about Naboo than you've ever wanted to know.
All right, but we want to thank everyone so much for the continued support towards us. Please like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter for weekly news, polls, discussions, and more. Please also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave a review. We thank you for listening, and join us next week for episode 21. We're getting up there. But until next time, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.